Welcome to YouTube is Updated Weekly. I am your host, Chris Taylor, King of the Ass Clowns, Highlight of the Night, Ambassador of Awesomeness, Advocate of the Devil, and last but certainly not least, your weekly dose of vitamin C. In case it isn't painfully obvious by the complete rip-off job I just did, I am a huge wrestling fan. Well, I was anyways. Back in the good old days of the Attitude Era, I couldn't get enough. There was just something stimulating about a bunch of sweaty, half-naked men dressed in their underwear and touching each other in awkward places and pretending to hate each other that really captured my attention.
Ha! Gay!
You know, now that I think on that for a sec, I think that might actually explain my addiction to, well,
The more fleshy aspects of this nation's great entertainment industry.
Nowadays, all we got is PG-rated, watered-down, lame, poorly acted crap. It's no wonder viewership is down, live attendance has plummeted, and we all look back to the 90s as the best there is, the best there was, and the best that there ever will be. But you know something, brother? The PG era actually has the potential to be even better than that holy grail of days gone by. To understand that massive leap of faith, we gotta look at exactly what made the Attitude Era what it was. See, two different companies, WCW, which was owned by Ted Turner, and what was then the WWF, owned by Vince McMahon. They both had weekly shows that aired at the same time on Monday nights, which caused wrestling fans to divide themselves between which show they wanted to watch at a given time. WCW started hiring the older stars from the WWF and created the NWO, a massive group of badasses who essentially beat the crap out of everybody else in the company. The WWF? They started pushing the envelope with more violence, more sexuality, more realistic storylines, and younger, better talent from their competitor. In the end, the Monday Night Wars concluded with Vinnie Mac buying out WCW and essentially owning everything that mattered in the world of wrestling. After this, there was a period of stagnation. A slow, methodical disease swept through wrestling like the symbiote costume.
Stop calling us that! We are Venom now!
Now why is that? Well, to better compete with a billionaire, the Mac Daddy made his company public, allowing guys like us to buy into the company and reap the rewards. In the short term, it succeeded, as Vince bought out the guys that were kicking his ass.
And I came this close. Can you see it? This close to putting this company out of business forever.
In the long term, the WWF was now written by committee, and with corporate sponsors, there were now limits and restrictions on what could be and could not be done in front of the public eye. For a lot of fans, this made the product boring. Less boobs, less violence, less of the 7 deadly words you can't say on network television. But to me, wow, what a great opportunity to make something truly memorable. It's true though. Anyone who knows me outside the little box you see for a few minutes once a week knows that I use the f word every other sentence. But with this, I made it my personal mission to not cuss. In the Attitude Era, they just had this rule to follow.
From the hours of 9 to 10 p.m., we will only use the words ass, damn, and hell.
I've had to come up with new ways of eloquently articulating the thoughts formulating in my cerebral cortex to better project a feeling of humorous jubilation to various demographics that may or may not be viewing my ranty ramblings via your computer screen.
Would you please shut the hell up?
Now we can't even bring up the Attitude Era without talking about arguably one of the most popular pro wrestlers of all time. The problem is, what I'm about to say is gonna anger you.
What?
May rattle you a little bit.
What?
It's the opposite of what some folks might think.
What?
In fact, it's probably gonna piss you people right the hell off.
What?
Man, that's annoying. See, as awesome as he was, Stone Cold Steve Austin wasn't the only major contributor to a great wrestling show. In fact, it was more than just the violence and the cursing and the eye candy. It was suspension of disbelief. See, I've always thought, and a lot of wrestlers would actually agree, that the best characters in the show were just guys being themselves, with the volume turned up to about 37.
In a row?
Guys like The Rock, Chris Jericho, Edge and Christian when they were being dorky, and yes, even Steve Austin himself as well. The characters they portrayed on TV were pretty much the same as they are in real life, just louder. The audience could tell the difference between sincerity and fake. Yes, even on a show based around people pretending to beat each other up in front of a live studio audience. And that's the key here.
It's still real to me, damn it!
Now there's staffers writing all the storylines and characters, with the wrestlers themselves essentially memorizing cue cards instead of going out and saying what they're already thinking and feeling. As a writer myself, I know that the greatest wellsprings of creativity spew forth when you're being restricted and given rules to follow, and that's how you're gonna know when the true cream rises to the top. Now, one of my favorites of all time, and not just because he's a fellow Canadian that I got to meet in person and acted like a total fool around, was Edge. Dubbed the Rated R Superstar, he had the charisma and the athleticism that made him entertaining to watch no matter who he was in the ring with. And he had a character that, in theory, flies in the face of everything that I just said. Except it didn't. Everything Rated R about him was suggestion, not outright shown. On top of that, he managed to break away from the rest of the guys because he was so different. It's that kind of difference in character that's going to be needed in a business so focused on staying the course and redoing what's already been done. Case in point, Bray Wyatt. Him and his, air quotes, family, in my opinion, was one of the greatest characters to come out in recent years. Why? Because there was an opportunity to create a dark character and it leapt out at the audience while still remaining PG. CM Punk is another example of a guy who brought that ferocious sincerity out in spades. You believe every word he's saying because he believes every word that he's saying.
I hate this idea that you're the best. Because you're not. I'm the best. I'm the best in the world.
Get the wrestlers to take part in the building up of their own characters and storylines, and there will be a resurgence in viewership, mark my words. Oh, and some competition too. You can't compete with yourself, and another group to be able to rival Vince would freshen things up too. That's it, that's all. Just get another company putting on another program, and get the wrestlers to work together with the writers instead of visibly faking it. And you'll have a show that may meet or even surpass that former peak. Hell, the WWE has already done this before with the brand extension, splitting the Raw and SmackDown wrestlers onto their separate shows in an effort to bring out competition with themselves. They did this once already post-Attitude, pre-PG, and now they're doing it again since after more than 15 years after eliminating their competition, there really hasn't been anything new to compete with the McMahon-opoly. Despite overwhelming evidence to the contrary, I do hope I managed to show at least a little bit of the potential of the PG era. The WWE back in the day reached its heights thanks to the competition of WCW, thanks to the realism that its performers brought to the table. The input that the wrestlers put of themselves into the product helped shape the quality, and the fans knew it, even if they didn't quite realize it at the time. And nowadays, with restrictions placed on what can and can't be said, and the splitting of the roster once more, the potential of the show getting better is there. They just need to take advantage of the guys who are dying to let themselves loose. Feel free to let us know in the comments section what you think of the current state of wrestling, and bring all your points against mine if you wish, so that I can prove you wrong.
Boom! Lawyered.
However, in the case of the PG WWE, the defense rests. Let's get ready to rumble! Alright, I'm done.